Hello everyone! Let's talk about something that has surprised a lot of people over the years. Many fans didn't realize this, but Janet Jackson reportedly went out of her way to avoid P. Diddy because she simply did not trust him. And looking back now, there may have been a serious reason behind that decision. By now, most of you have probably heard about P. Diddy's Netflix docuseries, Sean Combs' The Reckoning. That series definitely caught attention, and for good reason. It was intense, eye-opening, and packed with moments that left viewers shocked. What really stood out was how deeply the documentary explored the long-standing allegations surrounding Diddy's possible connection to the deaths of Tupac Shakur and the Notorious B.I.G. According to the documentary and past reports, there were claims that Diddy felt threatened by Tupac's presence in the industry. Tupac was not only rising fast, but he also had a close bond with Biggie Smalls, who was signed to Bad Boy Records. That friendship allegedly made Diddy uncomfortable and insecure. Tupac himself strongly believed that Diddy played a role in setting him up on the night he was ambushed and shot at Quad Studios. What made the situation even more suspicious was the timing. Tupac was supposedly on his way to meet Biggie that same night. These moments added fuel to years of speculation, tension, and unanswered questions that still follow hip-hop history today.
So, do you think Puffy was involved in the shooting?
Only they can answer that question. I believe so. I do believe so. I have proved things that I can say that will back up my...
Tupac being shot became the turning point that set everything into motion. That incident didn't just change his life. It completely ignited the tension between him, Diddy, and Biggie Smalls. What started as distrust quickly turned into a full-blown feud, especially once diss tracks began going back and forth. The music made the beef public, louder, and far more dangerous. Things escalated even more when Tupac signed with Suge Knight at Death Row Records. That move drew a hard line in the sand, and is often seen as the moment that truly sparked the infamous East Coast versus West Coast rivalry. The industry wasn't just about music anymore. It felt like sides were being chosen, and the atmosphere became hostile and aggressive. There have long been allegations that Diddy took things to an extreme level. Some claims suggest he hired members of the Crips, with rumors even saying there was a $1 million bounty placed on Tupac and Suge Knight. Not long after, Tupac was tragically shot and killed by individuals connected to the Crips, adding more weight to those disturbing allegations. Then, just 6 months later, Biggie Smalls was also murdered. Many people believe his death could have been avoided. The claim is that Diddy pushed Biggie to travel to the West Coast, despite knowing how dangerous the situation had become. In that sense, some argue Biggie was put directly in harm's way. After Biggie's death, Diddy appeared publicly devastated. He organized a massive funeral, which was rumored to have been paid for using Biggie's own money. He also staged an emotional tribute at the MTV Awards, making a very public display of grief. But according to those close to the situation, not everyone was convinced. Janet Jackson, in particular, reportedly saw through the performance and didn't believe the emotions were genuine at all.
Well, what do you think about the fact that Puffy Combs seems to have merged from all of this murder as the producer of the day? Puff Daddy seems to have become the record producer of the day.
Yeah, it seems like he has a new video every week.
Yeah, and you just kind of wonder because, I mean, he's like, one of the ones left after all of this murder that's gone on in the gangster rap community.
You know, sometimes I wonder. I was very cynical in the beginning, I must say. I would sit back and say, okay, how much pain is he really in? It seems like he's taken this and ran with it. Like the death of Biggie. And there's a part of me that wondered if it was really real. You know what I mean?
Because the videos seem to come out so quick. And
it's like he's throwing them out one after the other. Being the sort of cynic that I can be, I've wondered, and I'm sure like a lot of other people have wondered. And only he knows that, and God within his own heart. You know what I mean? I hope it is real, and not using that to elevate himself.
Many people believe that Diddy ultimately used Biggie's death as a way to elevate his own position in the industry. After Biggie was gone, there was a noticeable shift. Diddy was no longer staying behind the scenes as an executive or producer. Instead, he stepped directly into the spotlight and became the face everyone started seeing. Some even describe it as a destiny swap, where Biggie's absence created space for Diddy to rise. His visibility increased almost overnight. He began appearing on tracks, collaborating with major artists, and positioning himself as a central figure in hip-hop. The industry doors seemed wide open for him, and suddenly, everyone wanted to work with Diddy. However, there was one major name that consistently stayed away from him: JanetJackson. While nearly everyone else embraced Diddy's rise and connections, Janet kept her distance. She wasn't impressed by the sudden transformation or the public image he was building after Biggie's death. To her, the timing of his rise and the way he moved afterward didn't sit right. Janet reportedly refused to associate with him, standing firm in her decision when others chose to overlook the controversy. Her refusal spoke volumes, especially in an industry where saying no can be rare.
Re-interview Janet Jackson. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis need to get up off a track. Throw a brother a track or something. No, I won't get in the studio with Janet. But I mentioned her name, and she didn't want to work with me. She ain't want none of the hits. So I gotta move on.
Yeah. Not that he's bragging, but I do hear he keeps, and he has asked me a few times. I don't know if it ever will happen. I'm probably the only one who hasn't worked with him now.
It was just a dream, a fantasy for me to one day work with Janet Jackson. Now I don't want to do it.
One thing that has always been said about Diddy is that he doesn't give up easily. When he sets his sights on something, he keeps pushing, even when the door isn't fully open. And that same persistence showed when it came to Janet Jackson. Despite her clear reluctance, he continued trying to stay connected to her in one way or another. Eventually, their paths did cross professionally. Diddy ended up working with Janet on the remix of her song, Son of a Gun. On the surface, it looked like a major collaboration, and to the public, it may have seemed like any tension between them had eased. But behind the scenes, the situation was very different. Although they shared that project and occasionally ran into each other at industry events, Janet never fully let her guard down. She was careful, controlled, and intentional about how much access she allowed him to have. Any interaction was strictly professional and kept at arm's length. Even when they were in the same spaces, Janet reportedly made sure boundaries were firmly in place. She didn't open her circle to him, nor did she allow the relationship to grow beyond what was absolutely necessary. No matter how persistent Diddy was, Janet stayed true to her instincts and continued to keep him at a distance. When the news about Cassie's lawsuit against Diddy broke, Janet Jackson didn't hesitate. Her response was quiet, but it spoke volumes. Almost immediately, she removed the photo she once had with Diddy, making it clear that she wanted no public association with him anymore. That single action sent a strong message without her needing to say a word. Janet didn't release a statement or go on interviews. She let her move do the talking. In an industry where many people stay silent or remain neutral during controversy, her decision stood out. For those who had followed her history with Diddy, this wasn't shocking. It aligned perfectly with the way she had always kept her distance and trusted her instincts. By deleting that photo, Janet showed exactly where she stood when the situation became serious. To many fans, it confirmed what they had long suspected, that Janet never fully trusted him and was never comfortable being linked to him. When the truth started coming to light, she made sure there was no confusion about her position. Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about what's happening in the Love Island world. Recently, Love Island USA Season 7 stars Shelly and Ace Green announced that they've officially gone their separate ways. Is this shocking news? Honestly, not at all. This kind of outcome is actually very common when it comes to reality TV relationships. The truth is, many couples that come out of reality shows aren't built to last. In fact, a large number of them aren't even fully genuine to begin with. Especially on a show like Love Island, relationships often form because of exposure, brand deals, social media growth, and the overall popularity that comes with being seen as a couple. Long-term commitment usually isn't the main goal, and it's rare to see pairs truly go the distance. Let's be real, not everyone can be Serena and Cordell, so hearing that Shelly and Ace broke up doesn't really come as a surprise. I actually liked them together. They were cute, and their chemistry felt natural on screen. But chemistry alone isn't always enough to sustain a real relationship once the cameras are gone. It didn't seem like either of them was deeply invested in building something serious long-term. Another big factor here is where they both are in life. Ace is still very young, around 22 or 23, and clearly still figuring himself out. Settling down doesn't seem like his priority right now. Shelly, on the other hand, is 28. And if she's looking for something more stable and serious, Ace probably wasn't the right match for that stage of her life. On top of all that, it's likely they both realized they don't need to be in a relationship to grow their individual brands. Once that realization hits, staying together doesn't really serve a purpose anymore. So they chose to part ways, and honestly, it makes sense. Sometimes things just run their course, and that's exactly what this looks like.
So Ace and I actually decided to part ways.
Wait,
Yes.
oh my God, did you announce that?
No.
Oh my God, Shelly, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, don't, it's okay.
Are you-
Please don't.
how,
It's okay.
how are you feeling?
I mean, it really was a tough decision, for the both
Yeah.
of us, and very hard to decide. But when you love someone, sometimes loving someone means letting go. So I think we just got to that decision.
And
that-
also
that
getting
was
to a
best.
point where, because you both have love for each other, to end it
Exactly.
before that ends. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it came from like a mutual level of respect.
A mutual level of respect and understanding that, we wanted this to work, but sometimes things don't work. Couples go through things that are very challenging, and sometimes the best thing to do is just, make a decision that needs to be made. So.
So far, Shelly hasn't publicly explained what actually led to the breakup. And honestly, that leaves a lot of people curious. Naturally, questions start popping up. Was there cheating involved? Did something happen behind the scenes? Right now, none of that has been confirmed. Eventually, the truth usually comes out. But for now, it's fair to assume that they may have simply decided not to force the relationship anymore, just to keep fans satisfied. What makes this situation even more interesting is how things unfolded earlier on. Ace had previously spoken out about other couples in the villa, suggesting that some of them weren't real. He even hinted that Nick and his partner were more of a PR couple. Whether that's true or not is really their business, especially if both people involved are on the same page about it. However, Ace choosing to speak on that publicly caused a lot of backlash. And unfortunately, that backlash didn't just fall on him, it also spilled over onto Shelly. She ended up catching heat for something she didn't even say. On top of that, it seems like the situation may have impacted her friendship with Olandria as well. That one interview created unnecessary tension and didn't help their relationship at all. And now, looking at the outcome, it's ironic. Ace and Shelly didn't even make it past 6 months, despite being labeled as one of the so-called genuine couples. I do believe they genuinely liked each other. But as we've seen time and time again, most of these reality TV relationships aren't built for the long haul. People don't go on Love Island to find their soulmate. They go for exposure, clout, and opportunities. That's just the reality. Moving forward, I can definitely see Shelly continuing to grow on her own and leveling up in her solo career. She may even end up with someone on a much higher level down the line. As for Ace, he'll likely do his own thing and enjoy being young, single, and free. And honestly, this might not even be the final chapter. There's always a chance they circle back around for more attention or publicity. You never really know with reality TV. But for now, that's the end of this experiment. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share if you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!